All right, there's a myth, right, that you cannot be a plant-based and high-performing athlete.
Yeah.
I want to talk about first. I want to talk about your plant-based journey. Why did you start to eat plant-based?
Wow. Man, if I start this off any other way other than acknowledging this sister, she might try to knock me on the head next time I see her. But it was a sister by the name of Wunice Francois. I had actually contacted her. I was looking for a plant-based plant-based chef at the time, and the reason why I was looking for a plant-based chef was because I just seen this Game Changers, documentary. I started to dive more into my spiritual journey, and that spiritual journey revolved around a lot of the earlier believers of Yeshua ben Yosef or Bar Yosef, which Jesus as they know. I had dove into a lot of the earlier believers, and how you got groups like the Ebionites, the Nazarenes, the Qumran community. A lot of these brothers and sisters were vegetarians and were vegan to that degree, and really did not eat anything that had eyes or that bled, and that's how they would categorize it in these texts. So in that very way, I started to want to be Christ-like to that degree. They called, Christ a Nazarene. So in that very sense, the Nazarenes were those who, in my view, studying the scriptures, and I saw different scriptures on Passover where, Christ could have ate the lamb. He said, well, this bread is my body. Like, well, why didn't you just put the lamb, or, just stuff like that.
So hold on, Fayed. So the spiritual journey led you to the plant-based vibe.
Yo, it's crazy. So the spiritual journey led me to the plant-based vibe. And once I started to see, and when I had the sister come and she was cooking for me, and, she was giving me certain books like Dr. Liela Africa, African Holistic Health, and I got into that book. And it do a lot of digging on the spiritual side as well, and kind of this temperance. And, in old times, or in the times of, we'll say the Gnostic Gospels, not the Synoptic Gospels, but these Gospels that were actually highly found in Egypt, written in all type of languages. These Gospels like the Gospel of Thomas and all of that, right? Not necessarily canon by anybody really, a little bit earlier, but in one of the Gospels, they correlate meat with passions. So they'll say, blessed is the lion that eats the man, and cursed is the man that eats the lion. Because in a sense, like you become what you eat. You are what you eat, right? And it was just passions, like you become your passions if you, so I would see a lot of little cross-examinations, and I would start to get more into the physiology of how, and the anatomy of how these animals are made and why they do what they do, how these carnivores differ from the herbivores, how the herbivores differ from the frugivores, how the frugivores differ from the omnivores. And I would start to see a lot of differences between myself, and a lot of the carnivores. Like, they got sharp, nails, and they run like 80 miles per hour, 70 miles per hour. They sleep like 15 hours a day. Their digestive system is way smaller and shorter than ours, which, wraps and, it's very long. My teeth, I don't have the long canines, right? And I could just go down the line about the anatomy and kind of what led me to that. But a lot of different books, Dr. Sebi, actually, it wasn't one that started me on my journey. It was actually Dr. Liela Africa. I would give more credit there. And along with Wunice Francois was the brother Yahki. And Yahki worked with me early on in my process. He done blew up. I mean, he everywhere now. But, when I was working with Yahki, he put together something that was called like a gorilla mix. And that's how I really, really thrived in my first year in the league, was on that gorilla mix. To this day, he has not told me what's in that joint. But I need to start get back on it. But that process into which the spirituality mixed in with my levity was very important for me in that transition, and why I started to go plant-based.
When you first went plant-based now as an athlete, as an NFL player, this is the thing too. When people think about NFL, they think about big bodies, they think about aggression. Did your performance decline initially when you were figuring it out? Because I know you were getting assistance.
Yeah.
How was your transition like mentally and physically with a new way of eating?
Well, it's all about resources, right? We talk about human resources being one of the most important things on this earth, right? So those people that I had around me had the knowledge that I didn't necessarily have. You know, I was reading books about people who had a knowledge that I didn't have. So when you want to transition into something, whether it's marriage, whether it's being a football player, a basketball player, you want to find those resources that best benefit you. That's why a lot of people have issues early on, is because they don't, you know, have those resources. But for me, I had those resources. So I didn't have a transitional period where I was like, oh, my body feels like this, or, oh, you know, I can't gain this. So I didn't have that kind of transitional period for me where I was like, okay, let me just eat fish, and then let me cut the fish out, and let me, you know, pescatarian. I didn't have that. I went straight into, matter of fact, I didn't even go straight to veganism. I went above the veganism. I went to alkaline diet. I was really on, you know, all of the, you know, the fruits, the plants, and some of the grains that were above the pH, the potential hydrogen scale of 7. So that was, I mean, I was right in. And the sister that I'm talking about, she's my chef to this day. You know, she'll tell you. But I didn't really have an issue early on. My first year was actually one of my best years. I was first team, all rookie team. I had a great year, a couple of punch outs, a couple, you know, TFLs and everything. So I had a great year my first year. That kind of like middle area when I transitioned from my first year to the second year, I had a bunch of, you know, external kind of family stuff. But other than that, man, that period of mourning and pausing to fast and do stuff like that, you know, I was starving, man. You know, I think that's the best way to go. And it's been many athletes. I mean, Chris Paul, Tom Brady, Serena Williams. Serena Williams, there was a sister by the name of Queen of Green, Lauren Vanderpool, who was actually my chef for a good period. She was her chef. And, you know, when Serena was vegan, that's how they got down. Common was also one who was always running around on stage. How does he look so energized all the time? He plant-based. And of course, his whole lifestyle. It's about balance at the end of the day. I'm not pushing somebody to be plant-based. I'm pushing somebody to have a balanced lifestyle. So at the end of the day, if you can do that and live a healthy lifestyle, you know, you have people that live old in Greece and stuff like that, these blue states, who eat fish. But it's about what your spiritual intake or your spiritual subscription is. And it's about, you know, what type of lifestyle, whether you walk, you know, how much sun do you get, how many minerals do you get with your foods. That's what hydration really is, not taking a bunch of water. Hydration is really having all the minerals that you need inside of your body to be able to perform at optimal level.
Please share, what are some of the things you are eating on a daily basis?
I mean, on a daily basis, man, I think I have a protein powder. It's a soursop protein powder. Man, I actually got, man, where was I at? Man, I was in Miami. I started to get on this for about a year, and that's really been taking my game to the next level. Certain herbs like ginkgo leaf to really get my mind right. Ashwagandha. Ashwagandha, spirulina. You know, this is the kind of like basic athlete stuff that people hear about. Maca, not all the time with maca, but you know, sea moss, I would say. Sea moss and coconut milk has been one of my key ingredients to really gaining. You have certain things, you know, certain mushrooms that have that mycelium kind of network connection that can really get your, you know, some say that protein is really, you know, embedded in those mushrooms. But protein, you know, I don't want to get too much into that, but you know, you had the complex amino acids and the simple amino acids, which can differ whether you're talking about meats or whether you're talking about certain, you know, grains, balanced foods, quinoa. You know, it's so many legumes and stuff that people eat, some mostly, you know, sprouted. But I can go days talking about the food thing because it's a, again, it's not just food to me. It's a spiritual thing. So when I look in the scriptures and I see that better is a table, you know, full of herbs where love is at, than a table full of meat where hate is at. And it's kind of cross-examining these two, it's like a dichotomy almost of what it actually means. You know, the medicines, the Most High has put the medicines in the earth, and he who is wise will not oppose them. These are the certain scriptures that I was reading that really connected that for me. man, I could go days talking about this because it's a passionate topic for me. The guys will tell you when we in the locker room, man, I be holding lectures in there. I be holding lectures in there, especially the training room, man. Shout out to Joe Sheenan. Shout out to all the guys out there in the training room. But yeah, man.
Well, one more question, right? So, all right, you have the chef when you are at base, when you're home, right? How are you meeting your dietary needs when on road trips?
And that's, so watch this. This crazy. So on road trips, I actually try to get a chef in every city that I'm in. Of course, certain cities like Minnesota, like Green Bay, it's kind of difficult. But a lot of places have plant-based stuff. It's starting to be a movement. So especially the alkaline stuff and really, Sabi been in movement, and so it's not necessarily as challenging as you would think. I mean, it's a Whole Foods in every city. I'm not pushing Whole Foods or anything, but but they do seem to have some higher quality groceries. So yeah, it's not challenging really. You just get into kind of knowing the area. Publix is pretty solid, and I'm not about to be gassing these grocery stores on here, but it's not difficult because if you have the resources, then you can make anything work.
And teammates, I know they looking. So how many people be kind of sticking their,
oh man,
you got to throw them a little something now.
Yeah, teammates, man, they definitely. It's a couple of teammates that have been real intrigued. You know what I'm saying? I think I might got Amari Cooper. I might have got a couple of the guys, man. They acting real intrigued. But guys like Greg Newsom, my guys, Coop, like I mentioned, Chubb. These guys have always kind of been intrigued with that kind of like plant-based. Jacob Phillips. AWOC is not a guy who is really intrigued, but he tried to be putting like pork on my desk and stuff like that. I ain't gonna expose him, but my dog. But yeah, man.